Okay, hello. I have not done a video like this in a while. I just wanted to yap. It's been a minute. I thought it would be fun and cool to yap, so I've got some gameplay of Diablo 4 in the background while I yap. I was actually going to talk about Diablo 4, to be honest. This season, right now, is June 15th, 2026. This season has been pretty fun. I joined super late. I came in crazy late, to be honest. I just spent some time pretty much playing literally everything else but Diablo 4 and decided to come in within like the last month, maybe 2 months, maybe month and a half of playing and just try to like lock in and get as much done as possible. Um, Up until this season, Diablo 4 to me has just felt, I believe people call it like a slog, right? Like it felt slow, it felt heavy, it felt boring and just tiring. And to be honest, there were just times where I just wasn't in a mood to continue playing, believe it or not. I love ARPGs. I try to play as many as I can. I try to find new ones every now and then once I've exhausted all of my other options. And I played Path of Exile 1 for a pretty long time, but I was on it pretty heavy for probably several months, and then just decided, nah, like I need to take a break, right? I need to play something else. So I decided to move over to Path of Exile 2, and I played for a little bit, but it had its issues, and I was just throwing my hands up in the air because this is around the time where Path of Exile 1's market basically crashed, and between you and I hate the trade market. I hate anything where you have to rely on somebody else to get your hands on something else because this is a virtual space and people are going to waste your time. And it's just not fun, right? At least it just hasn't been for me. But here we are, you know. I figured Path of Exile 1 and 2 just weren't what it was I was really shooting for, so I should shoot for something a little bit different. So I decided to come back to Diablo 4 after not playing it for such a long while. And while taking that break, I ended up finding myself here. And this has been a ton of fun. I have clips, like all added up, would probably be about legitimate at least 20 hours worth of footage. I'm obviously not going to show all of that. Um, I've created probably 5 to 6 characters this league. I want to say maybe if it's 6 characters, then I want to say 4 of those 6 characters actually had a pretty decent build for getting through the earlier torments. This is probably the farthest. No, this is definitely the farthest that I've ever been in Diablo 4. I made it up to Torment, Torment 4. I think pushing on 5. And honestly, I think I could have done enough damage to sit at 7 or 8. But the build that I was following, my main build for my main character, which was a necromancer who utilized Blood Wave, I needed a ring. I think it was Starless Skies. And that's a mythic. And I've never seen a mythic in this game drop because I just haven't gotten to the torment for the build to actually work. And during that time, I was also trying a bunch of different classes out as well in like this little month's time. So it's been fun. My Necromancer, actually, believe it or not, on my first run, my Necromancer, I played through the entire Lord of Hatred campaign because Lord of Hatred had just released. On my second character, which was a Warlock, I played through the entire campaign from the beginning of the game all the way through Lord of Hatred. And then my third character, which I believe was a Barbarian, I did not play through any campaign whatsoever. I just kind of roamed around and did like the war plans and everything to get my hands on the general gist of how everything worked to see how everything was actually going to play. So, uh, yeah, I played a character who did the entire campaign this league. I played a character who only did the last campaign, and I played a character who did no campaign at all. And I did it all in like honestly, I'd say about a week's time. And that's dealing with school and work and occasionally hopping over to another game to do something with friends, right? And it was all pretty decent. I will admit that playing through the whole campaign for the Warlock was a little dreadful. It got to be a little dreadful. I've actually played the Vessel of Hatred plenty of times, never actually finished it. So coming back and playing through the Vessel of Hatred for like the fourth or fifth time, um, just felt dreadful. And the first campaign felt like such a long experience because the story just went on for what felt like forever. Lord of Hatred felt like it flew right by, right? It was completely new and fresh to me, but everything just felt really fast paced, like a completely different pacing compared to the first two campaigns. Not entirely sure why. That's just how it felt to me. All in all, I was able to basically try a different experience for each character. And by far, I'd say my favorite would probably be Lord of Hatred because it was a little bit quicker and compared to like just running war plans over and over and over again, it didn't feel as like monotonous. And of course, through story mode, you can have like missions that you complete, and when you complete them, you instantly level up, right? Like you can talk to somebody, and boom, you're the next level, right? And if you're really playing through story, you could find yourself at like level 70 before you even make it to Lord of Hatred, right? So there's a lot that you can do, and it's pretty fun. All in all, I really did enjoy it, and it was just a new experience for me since I had never really played through as much Diablo 4 because of all of the extra issues before this. So yeah, the Necromancer build was like a blood wave type of build. Eventually I got like the uh unique pair of pants and was able to get the build up and running. Um the Warlock build was like this off meta build that I use that I found where instead of staying in demon form all of the time and using your ult for demon form, you were like converting all your skills to hellfire and occasionally using like your demon form as like a combo in between your hellfire skills, which the warlock just felt like it demolished anything and everything for so long. But it also felt like there was just a lot of button mashing as well. And so I wanted to also try some other classes out. When I got to the barbarian, I tried to use the brobarian skill where it's just like infinite summons, and I had pretty much everything, but some of the stats on my gear just for whatever reason just wasn't clicking with me, and I couldn't really get the build to keep up my I guess it's Fury, my Fury generation. So that build just kind of fell through. I ended up making a druid and went for like this lightning shred build where you're calling down lightning and you claw as like a werewolf, and that was pretty fun. But I ended up once again running out of like the mana to keep things up and running even after changing my gear out. So that stopped being fun and I just felt at a loss, like there was nothing I could do to change my experience. So the barbarian and a druid was kind of a miss for me in like this last little month of playing. Um Outside of them, I made a paladin. That was the last character I made. I started playing with a friend. We didn't really get super far. That's about the time that I stopped playing the game. And other than a paladin, I made a sorcerer. I followed like a ball lightning build where I just used crazy lightning, had lightning going everywhere, one shotting everything. It was pretty fun, but was fairly squishy. And other than the lightning sorcerer, I also had a what's the class called? A rogue. And I never really finished the build for the rogue, but it was like the dancing knives build, and I got to maybe like level 30 or 40 with it. Before just calling it quits and going back to the Necromancer, I just figured, I might as well stick with the Necromancer, get as far as I could with the build, and see what I could do before the league was over. This is when I started actually utilizing the season ranks, and that was pretty fun because I had never really done it in Diablo 4 before. I touched it a little bit in one of the last seasons for Diablo 3, but that was about as far as I've gone overall with everything, so it was pretty cool to touch it in Diablo 4 and get all these new and different things. Um, I This is like the first season where I really started getting uniques and like getting them consistently, which was super fun. The dopamine rush of getting uniques was really cool, and going back and actually reading over them and realizing that they could help me out immensely was also really fun. I started farming caches to kind of power level other characters while working on my main character, which was also pretty cool. And then because of the season ranks, even though I think by the time that I stopped playing, which the season should be done in like a week, but by the time that I stopped playing, I think my Paragon level was like 174, but because of the bonus Paragon points from the season rank, it was like an extra 20 on top of that. So I was roughly in the 200s. Certain builds didn't come alive until you were a little deeper in the 200s for Paragon points, like the Brobarian, which I realized, I wasn't really going to be able to make work until I hit that point. And I just kind of burnt out from the grinding, especially when I was taking time to like farm with my other friend as well. So yeah, this was just a lot at the time. But being able to pass these Paragon points over to these other characters and being able to experience all this stuff was a whole lot of fun. And I really did enjoy it. I really did love running all of this extra stuff and being able to just try different things out. The war plans were pretty fun. Apparently, you could keep leveling them up the more that you ran them. And a portion of my friends that I wanted to run them with weren't really at that part of the game quite yet. So I was pretty much just running them solo, which wasn't really a problem. I was learning a lot more about the pits and everything else since I had never really done it before. Um, and yeah, all in all, I'd say it was a pretty decent season. I mean, of course, I did only play it in like its last, remaining bit. And of course, I'd never really made it this far in a game at all. So, of course, this is going to be, pretty entertaining for me. But maybe somebody who's already done this before probably wouldn't find this as much fun. I don't know. This was also my introduction to Paragon. I never really touched Paragon before this, so I never really knew about the Paragon board, which kind of reminded me of the first Ascendant, and I thought that that was just so cool. The glyphs I thought were pretty fun as well. Different, everything was different, and being able to follow builds and see the different things that you could do were pretty cool. Rune words were my new biggest thing to me. I thought that they were so fun. I thought that they were just absolutely awesome, and I absolutely adored rune words. Hopefully, more come out in time, but who knows, I didn't get a ton of them, and I started utilizing the cube to actually craft and whatnot. This took YouTube videos and articles and guides and whatnot to actually understand what I was doing, as well as learning the farm talismans. Man, it was just an entire experience, but it was definitely a fun experience because I had never really experienced something like this before, and it was just new, and I enjoyed it. I really did. So yeah, this is like my general kind of breakdown of like this Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred season. Um, I'd say my biggest takeaways, I would say all the things that they were introducing, at least for me, felt really fun and new and was nice to try out. The grinding and farming didn't feel too bad, but if you were following a build that just maybe seemed a little too like optimistic, like you would have to grind for gear. It kind of felt like gear was a little bit more of like a necessity because a lot of people center their builds around like mythics and uniques. And if you weren't 70, and if you didn't have access to the torments, and if you weren't playing through the seasonal content, then you just didn't have access to those types of builds until you made it there. And then even when you made it there, trying to actually make it work was just a wake up call because man, watching these YouTube videos and reading these guides and trying to look at these stats, man, it was all just it was interesting to say the least. But all in all, I had fun. Hopefully, they bring more characters and classes in, and more items and things as well. I've been hearing that the new season is going to be a little bit of a bust, but I guess we won't know until it comes. So, yeah, eat my balls.